this gothic underground city. We all sin. If I bring a couple rounds with me, then we all win.
Hey there, nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate. We are back with another episode of Into the Bad Zones, our Necromunda Outlanders campaign battle reports. And this is battle report number 11. It is a Market Mayhem scenario that is fought between the kiddo as well as myself. The kiddo is bringing the Children of the Vault, her Cold Trader Outcasts gang, and I'll be bringing the Gung-Ho Guns, the House Escher Outcasts gang. Now this battle report is actually pretty special for a couple of reasons. The first reason why it's a special battle report is because it's the very first scenario that we'll be playing in our expansion phase of our campaign. So we've just recently got completed with our resources portion of the campaign, where we went out to look for our resources. We just got done with downtime where we did our multiplayer scenarios. So now we're into the second half of this campaign to see once and for all who holds sway over the bad zones. So that's one of the reasons why it's important. Another reason why this battle report is also very important is because we are also trying to do something a little bit different with our battle reports. This is actually the first time I decided to actually record the battle report as we are actually playing it. So what ends up happening is that I'm actually taking my camera and actually showing you the action that's taking place. Instead of actually just taking some random footage and then narrating over it, I'm actually narrating as I'm filming it. So that way it's kind of like in real time actually. So it's actually kind of cool. So this is the first time we're actually experimenting with doing something like this. So please feel free to put down a comment below whether you like this format or not. One of the nice things about doing it this way is that our videos are much shorter. As you can probably tell in this video is actually not very long. It's actually about half the normal length of my usual battle report videos. So, and plus you get to see how the action is unfolding. It's a little bit easier to explain exactly what's taking place in the battlefield. You can see the battle as it progresses over the course of the game. So let us know if you actually like this format. If you do like this format, we'll continue making it for you guys. And if you like going back to the old-fashioned way where we just showed you stills and narrated over the pictures, let us know in the comments down below. Your guys' input is important to us. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to play some background music real quick. As the music is playing, we will show you photos of both gangs as well as the rosters for each of the gangs. If you look at the rosters, you'll notice that some of the fighters are actually highlighted in yellow, and that's to represent the fact that these are, in this scenario, you have randomly chosen fighters. So those yellow highlighted fighters are the ones who are actually participating in the scenario. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this battle report on a roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dying times here.
Alright, so the scenario rules for this one is taking place in the expansion phase. The scenario is Market Mayhem. Now the battlefield is played on a 4x4 table, and the market is placed in the middle of the battlefield, while the rest of the battlefield is set up as normal. If the defender has any defenses for their settlement, they may be placed on the battlefield. Now in this particular scenario, this battle will take place in Martyr's End, which is the settlement that my game, the Gung-Ho Guns, uses, and I'll be the defenders in this one. While my little sister, the kiddo, will be playing the Children of the Vault, who are the attackers in the scenario as well. Now as for the crews on this one, the attacker gets 10 chosen fighters, while the defender gets 10 randomly chosen fighters. Now as for deployment, basically starts with the defender, and you alternate deploying one fighter within 12 inches of the battlefield center. Fighters cannot be placed within 1 inch of another fighter, and we keep on going back and forth until all of our fighters have been deployed. Now as for victory on this one, the attacker wins if by the end of the battle but all defending fighters are out of action or seriously injured, and they're basically the ones that achieve the victory. If they can't do that, then of course the defender wins on this one as well. Now for home turf advantage, the defender has home turf advantage on this one, so we get +2 for our bottle rolls as well as +1 for our ability to actually rally as well. Now for the market on this one, because we're fighting inside of a marketplace, strength 5 or higher shooting weapons can't be used. Same thing with blast weapons, and template weapons can't also be used as well. And any rapid fire weapons that we shoot can only shoot one time. They don't get the rapid fire at all. Plus, fighters can't make a coup de grace action or make attacks against seriously injured fighters as well. well, and that's to represent the fact that this marketplace is supposed to be full of people and don't want to hit innocent civilians. Now, at the same time, when the attacker is actually attacking the marketplace, they can also make loot actions in the marketplace, and what they basically do is they roll a d6, and that d6 determines what kind of things they can get. Things that they can find are things like booby traps, for example, or getting a free item worth up to 30, a common item up to 30 credits, getting D3 times 5 credits, or in some situations you can actually get up to 3 different items with a rarity value of 9 or less, and you got to roll off to see which of those 3 items you get off. So looting the marketplace for the attacker is actually a pretty cool move. Now for rewards for this one, if the attacker manages to win the scenario, they earn 46 times 10 credits, while the defender, if they win, they earn 3d6 times 10 credits. As for experience, each participant earns 1 point of experience, and the attackers earn additional d6 experience points for winning for the winning gang leader. Now as for reputation, if the attacker wins, they earn d3 points reputation, and of course if any gang battle is out, they lose 1 point reputation as well. As well as for our Outlander campaign rewards, if the attacker wins, they also earn additional d6 power, d6 salvage, as well as d6 sustenance. So with the scenario rules over, let's go and talk about the battle report, and let's get you guys started.
Alright, so now that we're done with the scenario rules, let's go ahead and talk about deployments real quick. So as you can see, we're primarily largely deployed within the 12-inch center of the tabletop. That's where most of these fighters are currently located at. Once again, a beautiful job by Iron Major with all the terrain. Most of this is actually created by him. We do have some kill team terrain that I was able to pick up secondhand from my local game store, but for the most part though, this is primarily Iron Major's creations. So let's go ahead and talk about deployments real quick. So first of all, right here in the center, we have Mr. Sinister. He's a Cold Trader Weird. He's got armor weave as well as armor undersuit. He's got a sling gun, a stiletto knife, bio booster, and photo goggles. He's got the step aside as well as the overseer, as well as the overcharged technomancer ability. Over here we have our 2 Voidboard scum, both Slight and Ghost. They're both armed with armored undersuits, hazard suits, as well as auto pistol for Slight and a last pistol for Ghost. They both have chain swords as well as photo goggles. Meanwhile, jumping up here on the top, we have Yar Umbra. Yar Umbra is the Bounty Hunter special character. He's got flak armor, he's got a long last fighting knife, infrasight, photo goggles, respirator, infiltrate, as well as marksman overwatch skills. Right next to him is Miss Spectre. Oh, sorry, not Miss Spectre. Her name is Switch. Switch is a Outcast Hive Scum. She has mesh armor, Alaska, telescopic sight, photo goggles, as well as a stub gun. Now moving on to the rest of the deployment. For the rest of the gang, we have the last 2 fighters, which are located over here. In the back, that is Wesley. He's an Outcast champion with a Mastermind archetype. He's got an armored undersuit, mesh armor, the Crute long rifle. He's got photo goggles as well as an infiltrate skill. And then right next to him is Baymax, who's an Ambot with 2 tunneling claws, carapace armor, infiltrate, as well as cranial governors, evacuation automata, as well as valuable special rules. And that pretty much makes the deployment there for the kiddo for the Cold Traders of the Children of the Vault. Now then, as for my deployment for the Gung-Ho Guns of House Escher Outcasts, over in the back, on the very back, we have Scab, which is my dramatic persona. He's got mesh armor, armor undersuit, plasma gun. He's got a steel gun, dum-dum rounds, filter plugs, photo goggles. He's got the clamber, escape artist, infiltrate, and lie low skill. Right in front of him is Deadhead Lee, who's an Outcast Hive Scum. He's got mesh armor, armor undersuit. He's got a plasma gun with a telescopic sight, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, photo goggles, as well as a specialist skill. Now right above them on this little walkway here, that has Preston Garvey. He's an Outcast champion. He's got a gunslinger archetype. He has mesh armor, armor suit, as well as a long rifle, infrared sight, stub gun with dum-dum rounds, and fast shot. And next to him is One Shot Blonde, a Outcast Hive Scum. She's got flak armor, photo goggles, hot shot last gun, as well as a stub gun. Now continuing my deployment over here, on the right hand side, right in this, between this alleyway here, I have Mayday, who's another Outcast Hive Scum. She's got flak armor, photo goggles, a hot shot last gun, as well as a stub gun. And right next to her is Scalp Taker, another Outcast Hive Scum, equipped exactly the same way. Now also the very edge of the deployment area, right here in the bottom, I have 2 more of my fighters. First one over here on the right hand side, that fighter's name is Armista de Catalyst. He is the Shadow of Catalyst. He is a special character, dramatic persona bounty hunter. He's got mesh armor, a displacer field, stiletto sword, a stiletto knife, Kim Synth, as well as photo goggles, a respirator. He also has the counterattack, impetuous, and rain of blow skills. And over here we have Crimson Wind, an Outcast Hive Scum. He's got flak armor, photo goggles, wall bow with a telescopic sight, poisoned arrows, acid arrows, stub gun, as well as a smoke grenades. And then finally over here on the top here are my last 2 fighters. On the left hand side, that character's name is Trixie. She's an Outcast Hive Scum with flak armor, photo goggles, hot shot last gun, and stub gun. And right next to her Zero, who's equipped exactly the same way. And that makes it deployment for my gang, the Gung-Ho Guns. So now that we're done talking about deployments and battle plans, let's go ahead and talk about turn number 1, and the kiddo and I will roll off for initiative to see which of us will go first. Alright, so starting out with our very first set of activations for turn number 1, the initiative priority actually goes to the Cold Trader, so the kiddo actually activates Yar Umbra first. What's the Banner special character? He does a basic action aim with his long rifle, his long last, and another basic action open fire towards Amarista de Catalyst, but as you can see here, though, you missed the shot, so because of that activation, I have nothing. So when there, I then activate Amarista de Catalyst, I do a double action charge directly into Mr. Sinister, and actually engage him in close combat. And because Amarista actually gets 5 attacks, he has 3 attacks base, 1 for charging and 1 for additional hand weapon, managed to put down Mr. Sinister with a serious injury as well as a flesh wound because of the toxin trait of his weapons. He then uses his Impetuous special ability, special skill, in order to follow through 4 inches to go directly to the back of Ghost. So because of that, I'll be engaging that character next in close combat, and the kiddo will be activating that fighter in order to fight. Alright, so continuing on the rest of turn number 1, so the kiddo then activates Ghost. Ghost, of course, does a turns around and actually fights against Amarista, but only manages to put 1 wound on him as well. And at the same time, also missed 1 attack as well, which is pretty devastating because Amarista has the counterattack ability, which means that he gets 1 additional attack for every missed attack that's sent against him for his reactionary attacks. So once again, he has 3 attacks base. He also has the 1 additional attack for a close combat weapon because he has both a stiletto sword and a stiletto knife. And because of that, he also gets an additional attack. So he puts all 5 of his attacks directly onto Ghost. Managed to get 2 of those through, of course, takes 2 toughness checks because the toxin trait fails those 2 toughness checks, suffers a flesh wound as well as a serious injury as well. Now, Slight does pass his cool check to become for a fighter being taken seriously injured within 3 inches of him, so he's perfectly fine. Now from there, we then go back to the kiddo's turn. Then from there, we go back to my turn. And then for my next activation, I then activate my character up here, Preston Garvey, who then does a group activation with one-shot blonde right next to him. Now, Preston Garvey does have the fast shot ability, so because I do open fire with my long rifle and I go directly into Silk, Switch, who's located over here. I do manage to hit her with the long rifle, also managed to wound her as well, managed to put a grievous injury on top of her as well, putting her directly out of action. The reason why I was able to do so is because a knockback trait from the weapon from the long rifle, because it has a higher strength than the toughness of this character, it does cause 1 additional damage. Now, of course, Switch does pass her initiative check, she doesn't fall, but those 2 damage though is the one that kind of put her down. So because that, she will make a full recovery eventually, but she goes to recovery for now, so she won't miss out on her next battle report. Yar Umbra, of course, does pass his cool check for that. So because of the fast shot ability, that was my very first shot with this character. Now for my second shot, I decided to send it directly into this guy over here who's armed with a bolt gun. And I believe that character's name is Slick is his name. Managed to hit him as well as wound him and put a serious injury on him as well. Pushed him back an inch as well. Which then of course triggered another chain reaction. What ended up happening is that Miss Spectre over here, which is the Hive Scum Outcast, who's armed with an auto gun, she failed her cool test and fled back 7 inches, jumping over this wall. And her nerve is currently broken, which is a precarious spot for her to be in because right over here I have Crimson Wind, who can then cause all kinds of problems. Now because of that activation was done with Preston Garvey, I then activate One-Shot Blonde. One-Shot Blonde does a basic action aim with her last gun, Hot Shot Last Gun, because the closest target to her that's in the open over here is this character over here, which is, I believe that character's name is Smoothie, who's the guy named with a shotgun. Managed to hit him as well as put a wound on that character and managed to put a serious injury on him just like that as well. So because of that, these 2 fighters are now done. And that pretty much makes up my first set of activations for turn number 1. And with that, we go back to the kiddo for the rest of turn number 1. Alright, so continuing on with the rest of the activations for this turn. First of all, the kiddo then activates Slight. Now, Slight did a double action to charge directly towards Amarista. Now, if you remember, Amarista originally was engaged in close combat with Ghost. However, though, what ended up happening is that the kiddo just pretty much unleashed all kinds of heck, just basically attacking with their attacks. She attacked with her last pistol as well as her chainsword. She managed to get 3 attacks base, because she has 2 attacks base, 1 for additional hand weapon, another attack because she charged forward. Now, she put 3 attacks with her chainsword, another one with her auto pistol. And for the most part, I was able to stop most of it with my mesh armor. However, though, one of the attacks actually managed to get through, managed to put another wound directly on Amarista. And actually, because of the displacer field that he has, when it ends up happening as I roll a 4 up, if I roll a 4 up, I get moved in a random direction that many inches for the strength of the attack. And since Slight is, of course, strength 5, that pushed me 5 inches up this way. So unfortunately for me, I will not be able to get off my reactionary attacks because of it, but it does manage to save the wound I did take, so I still have 1 wound on that fighter. He has 2 more wounds left, and at the same time, I won't be able to do my reactionary attacks, which is kind of sad because if I was able to do those reactionary attacks, I'd pretty much be able to own, I think. But I think that's the way the character is equipped the way that they are, so just in case something like that happens. Now from there, if we go to my next activation, so for our next activation, I then activate Zero over here. So Zero is one of my Outcast Hive Scum. I take a basic action, aim with his hotshot last gun, and another basic action, open fire directly onto Baymax, which is the Ambot, which is located here. Now I do manage to hit him, but of course I failed to wound. I mean, Baymax is a Ambot, for God's sake. But what it does do, though, it does pin him. So because of that, we'll limit his actions because he'll need to use one of his actions to get back on his feet again. So you won't be able to charge. So hopefully that buys me enough time to survive. Now from there, as a reaction to that, the kiddo then decides to activate Wesley, which is her champion with the Recruit Long Rifle. And the reason why is because he was looking at this corner, which put him in a really good line of sight to being shot by my gangers located over there. So because he decided to move up, do double movements or directly over here, so that way he can hide in this corner and not be bothered with for the most time. Now from there, of course, I do make my next activation. My next activation was with Trixie, which is another one of my Outcast Hive Scums. She does a double set of movements to climb the side of the gun march to go directly to the top of the shanty, so that way she's out of the charge arc of being charged by Baymax. And that pretty much makes up my activations in turn number 1 thus far. So from there, we go directly back to the kiddo. Alright, so from there we go back to the kiddo. So once again, the kiddo activates her very last fighter, which is Baymax. Baymax does a simple action to get back on his feet again, another simple action move forward, heading directly towards Zero. Luckily for me, because of the scenario rules, Baymax cannot open fire with his Melta gun from his claws, and the reason why is because any 10 plate or any strength 5 or higher weaponry cannot be used in this scenario, so I got off pretty lucky in that situation. So because that, Zero is okay, and Baymax is making his way towards them. Now because of that, the kiddo's fighters have all been activated, so the rest of the turn is actually dedicated to me. So let's go on and talk about exactly what I did. So first of all, I then activated Crimson Wind. Crimson Wind does a simple action to move across the other side of this wall, and another basic action, open fire, opening with a poisoned arrow from his wild bow directly into Miss Spectre. Managed to hit her as well as wound her, and also went over her toughness check, so because of that she goes directly down with a serious injury as well. Meanwhile, over here on the other side of the table, the rest of the turn is basically dedicated to me. First of all, Mayday does a basic action aim as well as open fire with her hotshot last gun. She does manage to hit Slight, put a wound on him, as well as manage to pin him at the same time. Now because he's behind this wall, I won't be able to shoot him, so because of that I decided to spend the rest of my turn just double activating everybody, not double activating, I'm sorry, doing double movements for everybody. I then collect Deadhead Lee as well as Scabs. They both do double movements to move up behind this wall, so that way they can take some cover in case if Yar Umbra decides to open fire with them. And at the same time, in order to put some pressure on that fighter as well, I also activated over here the Scalp Taker. Scalp Taker does a double movement to go directly to the top of that first level, so that way he can work his way through and attack Yar Umbra as well. And then from there, that pretty much makes up all the turns and activations on turn number 1. So with the action phase over with, we go directly to the end phase. Okay, so with the action phase over with, we go directly to the end phase. And first of all, of course, the kiddo does have to take her bottle test because of the number of fighters she has as seriously injured. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, she does fail her bottle test, so because of turn number 2, she will need to take cool tests for all her fighters to say they actually activate or flee off the tabletop. Meanwhile, at the same time, as you can see here, Ghost actually managed to recover with a flesh wound, so now he's got 2 flesh wounds on him, so now he's only toughness 3. However, he can still move, he can still fight, he's still incredibly dangerous, so we gotta worry about him. After that, moving on to the other side here, we have Smoothie. Smoothie over here still seriously injured. Over here we have Slick. Slick does recover with a flesh wound. So because that he is one less in toughness, but he can still fight, still move, still shoot, still a considerable threat. Now moving on here, the other side over here, for this side we have Silk. As you can see, she did suffer a out cold result, so because she does go out of action, she makes full recovery, no problem whatsoever. Now for the rest of my gang, is perfectly fine, so no harm, no foul. And we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and the first thing that the kiddo and I do is roll off for initiative. Alright, so from there we go directly to the top of turn number 2, and I actually get the initiative on this one first. The first thing I do, of course, is I send in Emarista. Emarista charged directly into Ghost and managed to put him out of action with a grievous injury as well. So because he will automatically go into recovery, so he'll miss out his next battle report as well, which is all kinds of awesome. I was able to get off most of my attacks with just doing close combat attacks with my Silo Sword and Silo Knife. I was able to get past his toughness with the 2 flesh wounds where he had on him, so it's pretty easy to put this guy out of action. So the kiddo then activates Slight next. But unfortunately for her though, when she activates Slight, Slight of course fails his cool test, so because he flees off the battlefield as well. So from there, the kiddo then tries to activate Baymax, because that fighter went out. But unfortunately for her, she also failed her cool test for Baymax, so just like that, Baymax fled also the battlefield as well. She then activates Smoothie, so Smoothie did pass his cool test, which is cool, and he did a basic action to get back up again, and another basic action opened fire with his bolt gun Unfortunately though, because of the partial cover that Amarisa's in, she missed her shot, so because of that, nothing much really happened from there. So from that, we go directly to the rest of the turn with my next set of activations. Alright, so for my next activation, I didn't activate the Scalp Taker. The Scalp Taker does a double set of movements to climb to the top of the shanty, so that way in later turns I could put on some pressure towards Yar Umbra. Now, unfortunately for the kiddo though, when it came to Yar Umbra, she did try to activate him, but unfortunately for him though, she failed his cool test, so just like that, Yar Umbra also fled the battlefield as well. So from there, she then goes directly to Wesley. Wesley then gets activated next. She does manage to pass her cool test, and she does try to take a fire with her Crute long rifle for Wesley directly into my character, Crimson Wind, who originally was located over here. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, she missed her shot, so because of that, no harm, no foul. I decided to activate Crimson Wind after that. He does a simple movement in order to move over directly to get to this wall here and to take cover behind this wall, so that way he doesn't get shot at for the next turn as well. Unfortunately for the kiddo though, that's all of her fighters. All she has left is her leader, as well as one of her fighters who are seriously injured. And of course, she still has to take cool tests every turn. As you can see, most of her gang has pretty much left the battlefield. So just like that, this ends directly to the battle port with a victory for the House Escher Outcasts. So that being said, folks, we'll go directly to the post game because this game is now officially over.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.
Alright, so that takes directly to the post game, and starting off with, we talk with the Children of the Vault. So unfortunately the kiddo lost in this one, and for her injuries, she actually suffered 2 injuries, which are Ghost and Switch. Both those fighters suffered grievous injuries. However, they both make full recoveries because the kiddo eventually does buy a doc clinic with her settlement. And Miss Spectre also gets an out cold result, and so she makes a full recovery, no problem. Now as for advancements, one member of her gang did advance, and that was Ghost. He leveled up to level 2, earning +1 to his toughness. So because he has 30 credits added to his value, which means that Ghost is now toughness 6. So he's like one of the deadliest and toughest fighters we actually have out there. Now, for her settlement of Sanctuary, which is the edge of the Hive settlement, she originally started off with 11 power, 0 sustenance, and 20 salvage. However, though, over the course of the scenario, she earned 10 additional power, 10 additional sustenance, as well as 10 additional salvage, giving her 21 power, 10 sustenance, as well as 12 salvage in total. Now, she decided to build a doc clinic using 20 power, 10 sustenance, and 10 salvage, and she decided to field it with Doc Feelgood running that clinic. So because of that, she could actually have 3 of her fighters make full recoveries no problem, and they don't have to worry about missing on the next battle reports because of it. Now, as for the trading post, she didn't actually earn any credits in the scenario, so she didn't spend anything at the trading post. Her reputation, unfortunately, she loses 1 point for bottling out, giving her a grand total of 6 points in total. Her new record now is at 2 wins and 6 losses, and her new gang right now is at 2,500 points. Now then, for my gang, the Gung-Ho Guns, for injuries, I suffer no injuries in this scenario, and for advancements, none of my members of my gang advance at this time. Now for my settlement on Martyr's End, I originally started off with 11 power, 16 sustenance, and 11 salvage. However, I earned 10 additional power, 10 additional sustenance, as well as 20 additional salvage, giving me a grand total of 16 power, 26 sustenance, and 31 salvage. Now for those, I actually built the following. I actually built a scrap processing plant for 20 salvage, as well as a gunk tank for 5 power, sustenance, as well as salvage as well. That way I can max out my supplies, so that way I can keep on getting more of those materials, because I really need to build the defenses for my settlement at this point. Now for the trading post, I earned 140 credits from the scenario, and I spent 105 of those credits to purchase mesh armor for One Shot Blonde, Mayday, Scout Taker, Crimson Wind, Deadhead Lee, Zero, Trixie, as well as Mad Teddy. Now I took all those fighters' flak armor and I sold them for a grand total of 40 credits, and because of that, with the combined with the left armor I had, I spent 60 credits to purchase an ammo cache for Scabs, so that way he can use that wherever he deploys, no matter where he goes. I then took the remaining 15 credits and I put it directly into the stash. Now when it comes to my reputation, I still have 10 points reputation in total. My new record now is at 6 wins and 1 loss, and my new gang rating now is at 2,825 points. So there you guys have it. This is battle report number 11 of our Into the Bad Zones campaign in the books. So, like I said before, this is the very first time we're actually using a video format now in order to record our battle reports. So please let me know what you guys think of the new format. I'm actually planning on doing this for this battle report number 11, as well as the next battle report, which is battle report number 12. So let me know if you guys are really liking this new video format, if it's working for you. Let me know in the comments down below. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do for this one. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is valuable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blogger.com for all the latest, greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's going to do it for this battle report, you guys. We will catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.